In Part 1, Billionaire CEO. $5 billion deal. The intern he loved. But her father's lies cost his father's life. His revenge destroyed her family. Leaked kiss. Public scandal. Now the truth is out. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from right now. And here's the real question. Do you think Min-jun and Ji-won's love can survive the truth about their families? Can love really overcome this much betrayal? Drop yes or no in the comments. And if you're already hooked on this story, hit that like button and subscribe because part 2 is about to get intense. Let's go. The photograph went viral by sunrise. Ji-won and Min-jun kissing in the hallway. His hands on her face. Her body pressed against his. The caption read, CEO's secret romance, $5 billion deal built on pillow talk? Ji-won's phone exploded with notifications. Texts. Emails. Calls from reporters. The board demanding emergency meetings. Her mother, crying, asking what was happening. And one message from Jae-sung, I warned you. He's destroying you just like he destroyed your father. She sat in her apartment, still in yesterday's clothes, staring at the photo on every news site, every blog, every social media platform. Someone had leaked it. Sold it. Turned their most private moment into ammunition. Her career was over. No, she whispered to the empty room. No, I don't accept this. Her phone rang. Min-jun. She answered. Did you see? His voice was raw. Furious. I saw. Ji-won, I'm so sorry. Someone must have been watching. I should have been more careful. I should have. Who took the photo? I don't know. Building security is reviewing footage, but he swore viciously. Richard. It had to be Richard. Or Jae-sung. What? He's working with Richard. He told me yesterday. In Connecticut. She heard Min-jun's sharp intake of breath. You met with Jae-sung? Ji-won, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know if I could trust you. Her voice cracked. Because he showed me proof that you destroyed my family and I needed to figure out if everything between us was real or just, she couldn't finish. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, come to the office. Emergency board meeting in an hour. They're going to push for both our resignations. Good. What? I said good. Ji-won stood, fire burning through her exhaustion. Because I'm done playing defense. I'm done letting them control the narrative. And I'm done letting my past define my future. Ji-won, what are you planning? Something crazy. She smiled grimly. Something that's either going to save us both or destroy everything. Trust me? Always. Then meet me there. And Min-jun?
Yeah.
Bring everything you have on Richard Chin. Every document. Every piece of evidence. It's time to go to war. She hung up. Looked at herself in the mirror. Hair a mess. Eyes red from crying. Clothes wrinkled. She looked like someone who'd been broken. Perfect. She showered. Changed into her sharpest suit, black, tailored, armor. Applied makeup carefully. Pulled her hair into a severe bun. Became someone else. Became the woman who was going to win. The drive to Manhattan was surreal. Paparazzi camped outside Park Industries. Reporters shouting questions. Cameras flashing. Ji-won walked through them like they didn't exist, her head high, her expression cold. Inside, the atmosphere was funeral. Employees whispered as she passed. Stared. Some looked sympathetic. Most looked hungry for drama. The boardroom was packed. Not just board members, shareholders, executives, legal counsel. Everyone who mattered. Richard Chun sat at the head of the table, looking like a king about to execute his enemies. Min-jun stood by the window, his back to everyone, tension radiating from every line of his body. "Ms. Lee," Richard said coldly. "How gracious of you to join us. I wouldn't miss it." Ji-won set down her briefcase. "Didn't sit. Shall we begin?" "Let's." Richard gestured to the screen where the photo of her and Min-jun was displayed in humiliating high definition. "I think we all know why we're here. This," he gestured dismissively, "is unacceptable. A violation of company policy. A betrayal of professional ethics. And definitive proof that the $5 billion deal was compromised from the start." "Agreed," Ji-won said calmly. The room went silent. Min-jun turned, shock written across his face. "What?" "I said I agree." She looked directly at Richard. "The photograph proves a personal relationship. Which means, by company policy, either Mr. Park or I must resign. Correct?" Richard's eyes gleamed. "That is correct." "Then I have a proposal." Ji-won opened her briefcase. "But first, I have some questions. Mr. Chen, how long have you been embezzling from this company?" The room erupted. Richard's face went white. "What?" "6 years, I believe. Small amounts. Carefully hidden." "But," she pulled out documents. "Not hidden enough. These are bank transfers. Shell companies registered in your name. Payment records showing consistent withdrawals of company funds." She spread them across the table. "Approximately $4.2 million over 6 years. Richard shot to his feet. "These are fabricated. This is slander." "Is it?" Min-jun spoke for the first time, his voice like ice. He walked to the table. "Place down another folder. Because I have audit reports. Certified by 3 independent firms. All confirming Ji-won's findings. You've been stealing. Systematically. And using your board position to cover it up. This is a setup." Richard's face turned crimson. "You two planned this to distract from your own scandal." "Actually," Ji-won said coolly, "Min-jun gave me these documents yesterday. Before the photo leaked. Which means we were already investigating you. The photograph? That just accelerated our timeline." She turned to the rest of the board. "Here's what I know. Richard Chun has been embezzling. He's also been paying Ji-won's ex-fiancé, Jae-sung Kim, to dig up dirt on both myself and Mr. Park. He orchestrated the leak of that photograph. And he's been working with the Singapore team to sabotage the $5 billion deal because," she paused. "Because if that deal succeeds, it triggers an automatic audit of all board member transactions. An audit that would expose everything he's stolen." Margaret Huang, the legal officer, leaned forward. "Is this true, Richard?" "It's a desperate lie from 2 people who got caught, then you won't mind us initiating that audit immediately," Margaret cut him off. She looked at Min-jun and Mr. Park. "You have full authority to trigger this. I suggest you do so. Right now." Min-jun smiled. "It wasn't kind. Consider it done." Richard's face went from red to gray. "You can't, I'll sue, the board will never." "The board," Susan Martinez said quietly, standing, "just voted you out. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out." "And Richard?" Her voice turned to steel. "We're pressing charges." Richard looked around wildly, searching for allies, finding none. 2 security guards appeared. "Don't touch me," he snarled. "I built this company. I've given 30 years, you stole from this company," Min-jun said flatly. "And now you'll pay for it. Get him out of here." They dragged Richard out, his protests echoing down the hallway until a door slammed and there was silence. Ji-won's hands trembled but she kept her voice steady. "Now. About the photograph." "Yes." Margaret looked at her and Min-jun. "About that. We have a personal relationship," Ji-won said clearly. "We met 5 years ago, lost contact, and reconnected when I joined this company. Neither of us planned it. Neither of us handled it perfectly. But, she took a breath. The $5 billion deal was earned. The Singapore team confirmed this morning that they're moving forward. My projections were sound. My work was exemplary. And the only reason anyone questioned it was because Richard needed a distraction. That may be true, Margaret said carefully. But policy is policy. A romantic relationship between a CEO and subordinate, I resign. The words came from Min-jun. Everyone turned to stare. What? Ji-won breathed. Effective in 90 days. After Ji-won closes the Singapore deal. After she's proved herself beyond any shadow of doubt. Min-jun's voice was firm. I'll step down. Susan Martinez will take over as CEO. I'll retain my shares but have no operational authority. Min-jun, no, Ji-won started. Yes. He looked at her, and the love in his eyes was devastating. Because you were right. About all of it. You earned this position. You deserve to be here without my shadow hanging over you. So I'm removing the shadow. You built this company, Ji-won said desperately. You can't just, I built this company for a reason. He stepped closer. To prove something. To honor my father. But you know what I realized? I don't need to prove anything anymore. Because I met you. And you showed me that there's more to life than revenge and legacy and corporate warfare. His hand brushed hers, just barely. I'd burn it all down if it meant you could fly. Ji-won's eyes burned with unshed tears. That's the stupidest, most romantic thing I've ever heard. I know. He smiled. So? Do we have a deal? Margaret looked around the table. Board members nodded slowly. The board accepts Mr. Park's resignation, contingent on Ms. Lee successfully closing the Singapore contract. In the meantime, she raised an eyebrow. I suggest you both maintain professional distance. For appearance's sake. Understood, they said in unison. The meeting adjourned. People filed out, buzzing with shock and excitement because this was better than any drama, wasn't it? The CEO resigning for love. The intern who brought down a corrupt board member. It was legendary. Min-jun and Ji-won stood alone in the boardroom. You didn't have to do that, Ji-won said quietly. Yes, I did. Your father's legacy would be proud. Min-jun turned to face her fully. My father built this company to help people. Somewhere along the way it became about power. Control. But you, he touched her cheek gently. You reminded me what it was supposed to be about. Excellence. Merit. Doing the right thing even when it's hard. I'm still angry at you, she whispered. I know. For what you did to my family. For not telling me sooner. I know. But I also, her voice broke. I also understand why you did it. And I think maybe we're both broken people who found each other at exactly the wrong time. Or exactly the right time, he countered. Because if we'd met any other way, we wouldn't have fought this hard. Wouldn't have proved ourselves this thoroughly. We'd always wonder if it was real. Is it real? Ji-won asked, and it was the most vulnerable she'd been since this whole mess started. Min-jun pressed his forehead against hers. It's the only real thing I have. 90 days, she said. Then what? Then I'm just Min-jun. Not a CEO. Not a legacy. Just a man who's completely in love with a woman who's too good for him. He smiled. Think you can tolerate that? I think I can try. She kissed him. Soft and slow and full of promise. Outside the windows, New York City sparkled in the afternoon sun. Inside, two broken people held each other and decided that maybe broken things could still be beautiful. But their peace was short-lived. Because Ji-won's phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number, you think you won? You're so naive. Richard was just the opening act. The real show starts now. And Ji-won? Your father's testimony that destroyed Min-jun's father? It was based on falsified evidence. Evidence your father knew was false. Sleep well, princess. The message included an attachment. A document. Stamped confidential. And as Ji-won read it, her blood turned to ice. Because if this was true, if her father had knowingly lied and destroyed an innocent man, then everything she'd been fighting for was built on a foundation of sand. What's wrong? Min-jun asked, seeing her expression. She looked up at him. And had to make an impossible choice. Tell him the truth and watch his world shatter again. Or hide it and become the liar she'd accused him of being. Nothing, she lied. Just the Singapore team confirming details. He relaxed. Smiled. Kissed her forehead. And Ji-won held him close, feeling the weight of secrets crushing her chest. Because she'd just learned something that changed everything. And she had no idea what to do with it. Ji-won couldn't sleep. 3 a.m. and she was still staring at her laptop, the confidential document glowing accusingly in the darkness of her apartment. The words blurred together, but their meaning was crystal clear. Her father had lied. The testimony against Min-jun's father, the testimony that claimed Park Industries was using illegal labor practices, endangering workers, violating dozens of safety regulations, all of it was based on fabricated evidence. Evidence her father had manufactured. But why? She'd read the document 17 times. Each time hoping she'd misunderstood. Each time finding the same damning conclusion. David Lee, her father, had worked for a competitor. A company that wanted to eliminate Park Industries from the textile market. They'd paid him handsomely to create false documentation, to testify under oath, to destroy an innocent man. And it had worked. Min-jun's father had been fined millions. His reputation destroyed. The stress contributed to his heart attack 6 months later. All because her father had sold his integrity for money. No, Ji-won whispered to the empty room. Dad wouldn't. He couldn't. But the evidence was irrefutable. Bank transfers. Emails. Meeting records. All of it authenticated by the same forensic accountants who'd verified Richard's embezzlement. Her phone rang. She jumped. Jae-sung's number. Don't hang up, he said immediately when she answered. I know you hate me. I know you don't trust me. But you need to hear this. Did you send me that document? Yes. Why? Because you deserve to know the truth. All of it. Not just the parts that make your story neat and simple. Jae-sung's voice was urgent. Min-jun destroyed your father. But your father destroyed his first. It's a cycle. Revenge breeding revenge. And you and Min-jun? You're just the latest casualties. Ji-won's throat tightened. Who else knows about this? Richard knew. That's why he was so confident he could take down Min-jun. He planned to release it after your deal failed, show that Min-jun's entire vendetta was justified. That you were just a pawn in a much bigger game. But Richard's gone now. Richard is arrested. But his information isn't gone. I have copies. So do others. It's only a matter of time before Min-jun finds out. Before everyone finds out, Jae-sung corrected. Media. Board. Shareholders. And when they do, the narrative flips. Min-jun becomes the sympathetic victim. Your father becomes the villain. And you? He paused. You become the daughter of the man who destroyed the Park family. Think they'll let you keep that $5 billion deal then? Ji-won closed her eyes. What do you want, Jae-sung? I want you to be smart. Take the information. Use it before someone else does. Go to Min-jun, tell him yourself. Control the narrative. He'll hate me. Maybe. Or maybe he'll appreciate the honesty. Either way, you don't want him learning this from a news article. He was right. She hated it, but he was right. Why do you care? She asked quietly. I told you. I cared about you once. Still do, in a way. His voice softened. What I did was wrong. Stealing from you. Disappearing. I own that. But I'm trying to make it right. This information? Consider it my apology. I don't want your apology. Then consider it a gift. Use it well, Ji-won. And, he hesitated. For what it's worth. You're better than your father. Better than me. Better than all of us. Don't let our mistakes define you. He hung up. Left her sitting in darkness with information that could destroy everything. By 8 a.m., Ji-won had made her decision. She drove to Min-jun's penthouse in Connecticut, the private residence he retreated to when Manhattan became too suffocating. He'd told her about it once, described it as his sanctuary. She'd never been invited. Until now. The gate opened when she pressed the intercom. She drove up a winding driveway lined with maple trees, their autumn leaves blazing red and gold, and found him waiting on the steps. Hair wet from a shower. Casual clothes, jeans and a sweater. Bare feet. He looked young. Vulnerable. Nothing like the CEO who commanded boardrooms. Ji-won? Surprise and pleasure flooded his face. What are you doing here? I thought you had meetings, I lied. She got out of the car, legs unsteady. I need to talk to you. About something important. His smile faded. Okay. Come in. The penthouse was beautiful. Modern but warm. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking rolling hills. Comfortable furniture. Books everywhere. This was his real home, she realized. The place where he could be himself. He made coffee. She couldn't drink it. They sat on the couch, the morning light streaming across them, and Ji-won felt like she was about to commit murder. Min-jun, she started, then stopped. How did you destroy someone's world? There's something about my father. About what happened with your father. And you need to hear it from me before, her voice cracked. Before someone else tells you. He went very still. What about your father? She pulled out her laptop. Showed him the document. Watched as he read. Watched his expression go from confused to shocked to absolutely devastated. No, he breathed. This can't be, it's authenticated. Verified. My father fabricated evidence. He lied under oath. He was paid by a competitor to destroy your father's company. Tears streamed down her face. Everything you did, destroying his business, taking revenge, you had every right. My father struck first. My father, a sob tore from her throat. My father killed yours. Min-jun said nothing. Just stared at the screen. Reading and rereading. His hands started to shake. I was 7 years old, he finally whispered, when the scandal broke. My father came home from the trial and locked himself in his office. I could hear him crying. Crying. This man who'd never shown weakness. Who'd built everything from nothing. And he was breaking. His voice turned raw. My mother held me and told me everything would be okay. But it wasn't okay. Because 6 months later, my father was dead. Heart attack. 48 years old. And everyone said it was stress. The trial. The humiliation. The collapse of everything he'd built. Min-jun, I grew up believing my father was guilty. That he'd cut corners. Endangered people. That the testimony was true. He looked at her, and the pain in his eyes was unbearable. I spent years trying to make it right. Implementing safety protocols. Overcompensating. Trying to be better than the man I thought had failed. And all of it, his hands clenched into fists. All of it was based on a lie. I'm so sorry. Your father. He said it like a curse. Your father did this. Knowingly. For money. Yes. And you, he looked at her like she was a stranger. You're his daughter. Yes. So everything plus, the deal, all of it, it's just, he laughed bitterly. God, the universe has a sick sense of humor, doesn't it? I didn't know. Ji-won grabbed his arms. I swear, I didn't know until last night. If I had known, what? You wouldn't have applied here? Wouldn't have let me fall in love with you? He pulled away, standing, pacing like a caged animal. I destroyed your father because I believed he destroyed mine. But he destroyed mine first. Deliberately. Maliciously. And now you're here, and I love you, and I don't know, he spun to face her. I don't know if I can look at you without seeing him. The words hit like physical blows. Ji-won stood on shaking legs. I'm not my father. I know that. Do you? Her voice rose. Because I came here, Min-jun. I could have hidden this. Could have let you find out from someone else. But I drove 3 hours to tell you myself because I love you and you deserve the truth. The truth? He laughed harshly. The truth is that our families destroyed each other. Your father killed mine. I retaliated against yours. And now we're, what? Supposed to just forget all that? Build a life on top of a mountain of corpses? No. Ji-won's voice broke. We're supposed to be better than they were. We're supposed to break the cycle. How? The question hung between them. I don't know. She was shouting now, tears streaming freely. I don't have answers. I just know that I love you. And I know that what our fathers did, what they chose, doesn't have to define us. Doesn't it? Min-jun's voice dropped to a whisper. Because I look at you and I see everything I love. But I also see, he stopped. Swallowed hard. I also see the man who destroyed my father. And I don't know how to separate those things. Then don't. She stepped closer. Don't separate them. Love me anyway. Hate my father. Be angry. Be confused. But don't, her voice cracked. Don't throw away what we have because of what they did. What we have is built on lies. No. She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. What we have is built on 2 people who met in a coffee shop and connected. What we have is built on late nights and shared dreams and the fact that when I look at you, I see home. Everything else? That's just noise. Noise? He pulled her hands away gently. Ji-won, our fathers destroyed each other. That's not noise. That's the past. She was begging now. It's the past. And we can either let it define us or we can choose something different. Min-jun looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped back. I need time. The words felt like a death sentence. How much time? I don't know. A day. A week. He ran his hands through his hair. I need to process this. Need to figure out what I'm feeling because right now everything is just, his voice broke. Everything is chaos. Ji-won nodded. Grabbed her laptop with shaking hands. Take all the time you need. But Min-jun? When you figure out what you're feeling, remember something. She looked at him one last time. I came here. I told you the truth. Because that's who I am. I'm not my father. I'm not someone who lies or hides or destroys people for money. I'm someone who chose you. Choose me back. She walked out. Got in her car. Drove away. And didn't look back even though every cell in her body screamed at her to turn around. The drive back to Manhattan was a blur. By the time she reached her apartment, she had 47 missed calls. 15 from her mother. 32 from unknown numbers. The news had broken. Not about her father, not yet. But about Richard's arrest. About the embezzlement. About the scandal that was rocking Park Industries. Her phone rang again. Margaret Huang. Ms. Lee, we need you at the office. The Singapore team is threatening to pull out unless they get reassurance that the company is stable. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Make it 10. This is falling apart fast. Ji-won changed clothes. Became the professional again. Locked away her breaking heart and became the woman who could save a $5 billion deal. Because Min-jun had been right about one thing, she'd earned this. And she wasn't going to let anyone take it away. Not Richard. Not the board. Not even her own father's sins. The office was chaos. Reporters outside. Employees panicking inside. And in the conference room, 5 very angry men from Singapore. Ms. Lee, Chen Wei said coldly. Explain how we're supposed to trust a company that just arrested its own board member for embezzlement. You trust it, Ji-won said calmly, setting down her briefcase, because the company identified the corruption. Because we acted decisively. Because transparency and accountability are exactly what you want in a business partner. Transparency? Chen Wei raised an eyebrow. Is there anything else we should know? Any other skeletons in Park Industries' closet? Ji-won thought about her father. About the document. About the bomb that was ticking down to detonation. She could tell them. Warn them. Protect them from the inevitable fallout. Or she could lie. Buy time. Hope Min-jun figured out how to handle it before it exploded publicly. She met Chen Wei's eyes. Park Industries has operated with integrity for 30 years. One corrupt board member doesn't change that. The deal I've presented stands on its own merits. The question isn't whether you can trust us. The question is whether you're smart enough to recognize an exceptional opportunity when you see it. Silence. Then Chen Wei smiled. Actually smiled. You have courage, Ms. Lee. I respect that. He looked at his colleagues. We'll proceed. But, his expression turned serious. Any more surprises and we walk. Understood? Understood. They shook hands. The Singapore team left. And Ji-won collapsed into a chair, adrenaline finally fading, leaving only exhaustion. Margaret appeared in the doorway. That was impressive. Thanks. You're also about to face a much harder battle. Margaret's expression turned sympathetic. Information just came in. About your father and Min-jun's father. It's going to break tomorrow morning. Every major outlet. Ji-won's stomach dropped. Tomorrow? I'm sorry. I know you and Min-jun, she stopped. Is he aware? Yes. I told him this morning. How did he take it? He asked for time. Margaret nodded slowly. Then I suggest you use the next 24 hours wisely. Because once this hits, the narrative becomes uncontrollable. And you need to decide, she looked at Ji-won directly. Are you going to stand with him or protect yourself? I don't know. Then figure it out. Fast. Because in this business? Margaret's voice turned hard. Hesitation kills. She left. And Ji-won sat alone in the conference room, staring at her reflection in the dark windows, wondering how everything had gotten so complicated. Her phone buzzed. Text from Min-jun, I love you. I'm furious and confused and I need time. But I love you. Don't forget that. She typed back with trembling fingers, I love you too. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, tomorrow is going to be hell. But we'll face it. Together or apart, we'll survive this. Ji-won closed her eyes. Wondered if they would. Because tomorrow the world would learn the truth about their fathers. About the cycle of revenge and lies and destruction. And everyone would be watching to see what they'd choose. Would they break the cycle? Or would they become just another tragedy? She didn't know yet. But she had 24 hours to decide. And whatever she chose would define the rest of her life. The morning Ji-won's world ended started with an email. Subject, breaking, Park Industries scandal deepens, founder falsely accused. She didn't open it. Didn't need to. Her phone was already exploding with notifications. News alerts. Social media mentions. Messages from people she hadn't spoken to in years, all suddenly interested in her life. The story was everywhere. Fabricated evidence, how David Lee destroyed an innocent CEO, corporate revenge, the Park Lee family feud explained, $5 billion deal built on lies. Every outlet had the documents. Every reporter had an opinion. And every single person wanted a statement from her. Ji-won sat in her apartment, curtains drawn, phone on silent, watching her life become public entertainment. Her father called 23 times before she finally answered. Ji-won, please, you have to understand, his voice was desperate. Broken. Nothing like the strong man she'd grown up admiring. Understand what, Dad? That you lied? That you destroyed an innocent man? That you took money to commit perjury? It wasn't, he stopped. Started again. It was complicated. Was it? Her voice was ice. Because it looks pretty simple from here. You got paid. You lied. Someone died. That's not complicated. That's evil. I did it for us. His voice rose. For you. My company was failing. Your college tuition was due. Your mother needed surgery. We were drowning, Ji-won. And they offered me a way out. By destroying someone else? By doing what I had to do to survive. People died, Dad. Her voice broke. Min-jun's father died. And you just went on living. Building a new company. Pretending you were a good man. Silence on the other end. I'm sorry, her father whispered. I'm so sorry. If I could take it back, you can't. And now I have to live with what you did. Have to watch the man I love suffer because of your choices. She hung up. Blocked his number. And tried to figure out what came next. The answer came in the form of a press conference. Park Industries announced it for noon. Ji-won watched the live stream from her apartment, her heart in her throat, as Min-jun walked to the podium. He looked tired. Older somehow. But his voice was steady when he spoke. By now you've all seen the documents regarding my father's case. For those who haven't, here's the summary. 30 years ago, my father was falsely accused of labor violations. The testimony was fabricated. The evidence was manufactured. And my father, his voice caught. My father died believing he was guilty. Believing he'd failed. When in reality, he was the victim of corporate sabotage. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Min-jun held up a hand. I learned the truth yesterday. And I won't lie, I'm angry. I'm devastated. I spent 15 years trying to make up for sins my father never committed. But, he paused. I also understand something now. Revenge doesn't work. It didn't work when I went after David Lee's company. It won't work if I spend the rest of my life seeking retribution for what was done to my father. His eyes found the camera. Found her, even through the distance. Someone recently told me that we can either let the past define us or choose something different. I'm choosing something different. Ji-won's breath caught. So here's what I'm announcing today. Park Industries will not pursue legal action against David Lee. We will not sue. We will not retaliate. Because that cycle, revenge breeding revenge, it ends today. It ends with me. The room erupted. Reporters screaming questions. Board members looking shocked. But Min-jun just smiled. Tired and sad and beautiful. Additionally, I'm accelerating my resignation timeline. Effective immediately, I'm stepping down as CEO. Susan Martinez will take over. And he looked directly at the camera. I'm going to take some time to figure out who I am without this company. Who I am without my father's shadow. Who I am when I'm just as me. Someone shouted, "What about Ji-won Lee? The intern? The $5 billion deal?" Min-jun's expression softened. Ms. Lee earned that deal through extraordinary talent and dedication. Her father's actions don't change that. She's one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. And, he took a breath. I'm in love with her. Which is why I'm removing myself from the situation entirely. She deserves to build her career without my complications. Without my baggage. Without constantly being questioned about whether she earned her position or was just handed it. Tears streamed down Ji-won's face. I don't know if we'll work out. Our families destroyed each other. That's not easy to overcome. But, his voice turned fierce. I'm going to try. Because she's worth trying for. And if she'll have me, if she can forgive my mistakes and look past my family's history, then I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of her. The press conference continued, but Ji-won stopped watching. Grabbed her keys. Ran. Traffic was a nightmare, but she didn't care. Honked. Swerved. Drove like her life depended on it because maybe it did. Park Industries was surrounded by reporters, but she pushed through them, ignoring their shouted questions, ignoring the cameras, focused only on getting inside. Security recognized her. Let her through. She took the elevator to the 40th floor, burst into the executive suite, and found Min-jun standing by the window, looking out at the city he'd commanded for so long. That was the stupidest press conference I've ever seen, she said breathlessly. He turned. Saw her. And his entire face transformed.
Yeah.
Resigning? Immediately? You didn't even give 2 weeks' notice. I'm the CEO. I don't need to give notice. Former CEO, she corrected. As of, she checked her phone. 23 minutes ago. Former CEO, he agreed. They stared at each other across the office. And Ji-won realized this was it. The moment where everything either came together or fell apart permanently. I'm furious at my father, she said quietly. I'm ashamed. I'm angry. And I'm terrified that every time you look at me, you'll see him. I won't lie, Min-jun said carefully. Part of me does. Part of me sees the man who destroyed my family and wants to. He stopped. But then I remember that you're not him. You came to me. Told me the truth when you could have hidden it. Sacrificed your relationship with your father to be honest with me. You're nothing like him, Ji-won. But is that enough? Her voice broke. Is it enough to overcome everything our families did to each other? I don't know. He crossed the room slowly. I really don't. But I know I'm willing to try. Because the alternative, living without you, that's worse than any pain our fathers could have caused. He stopped in front of her. Close enough to touch, but not touching. You asked me to choose you. So I'm choosing you. Publicly. Completely. In a way that can't be taken back. Ji-won looked up at him. This man who'd lost everything. Who'd been hurt and betrayed. Who was still choosing love over revenge. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. What if we can't make it work? Then we fail spectacularly. He smiled. But at least we'll fail together. That's not reassuring. It's not supposed to be. Love isn't reassuring, Ji-won. It's terrifying. He cupped her face. But it's also the only thing that makes any of this worthwhile. She kissed him. Poured everything into it, her fear and love and hope and desperation, and he kissed her back with equal intensity, his hands in her hair, her body pressed against his, both of them holding on like they were drowning and each other was the only life raft. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Min-jun pressed his forehead against hers. So what now? Now. Ji-won smiled through her tears. Now I close the biggest deal of my career. Prove to everyone that I earned my position. And then, she looked at him seriously. Then we figure out us. Slowly. Carefully. Without the pressure of corporate politics. I like that plan. There's one more thing. She pulled back slightly. My father. He's been calling. Wants to explain. Apologize. Make amends. I don't know if I can forgive him, but he's your father, Min-jun finished. Then we'll figure that out too. Together. He kissed her forehead. I'm not going to demand you cut him out. That's your choice. Your journey. I'll support whatever you decide. Even if I want a relationship with him someday? Even then. Because that's what love means, right? Supporting each other even when it's hard? Ji-won's phone buzzed. Singapore team. She answered. Ms. Lee, we saw the press conference. We need reassurance that the deal is solid, she interrupted firmly. Mr. Park's resignation doesn't affect the contract. All projections stand. All terms remain. We're moving forward. And the scandal about your father? Chen Wei's voice was cautious. My father made terrible choices 30 years ago. Choices I only learned about recently. Choices I condemn completely. But his actions don't define me or my work. The deal succeeds or fails on its own merits. And I promise you, her voice turned steel. It will succeed. Silence. Then, we're trusting you, Ms. Lee. Don't make us regret it. You won't. She hung up. Looked at Min-jun, no pressure or anything. He laughed. Actually laughed. You just promised to close a $5 billion deal while your personal life is imploding. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly insane. Both. Definitely both. That's why I love you. 3 months later, Ji-won stood in the Park Industries conference room, soon to be Martinez Industries, though everyone still called it Park, watching the Singapore team sign the final contracts. $5 billion. Finalized. Successful. Hers. Chen Wei shook her hand. Exceptional work, Ms. Lee. Truly exceptional. Thank you. I heard you've been promoted. Senior Director? Vice President of International Relations, she corrected with a smile. They figured if I could handle this, I could handle anything. They figured correctly. He paused. And Min-jun Park? How is he? Good. Really good, actually. And it was true. Min-jun had spent 3 months away from corporate life. Traveled. Volunteered. Rediscovered who he was without his father's legacy weighing on him. They'd seen each other every week. Dated properly. No company politics. No board meetings. Just 2 people learning to build something real. He was waiting for her outside when the meeting ended. Leaning against his car. Casual clothes. Easy smile. Everything she'd fallen for in that coffee shop 5 years ago. How'd it go? He asked. Perfect. She kissed him. Absolutely perfect. Told you you'd crush it. You had faith. I had love. He pulled her close. There's a difference. They drove to Massachusetts. To the coffee shop where it all started. It was still there, miraculously unchanged, the same worn tables and faded menus and terrible fluorescent lighting. Ji-won ordered a caramel macchiato, extra foam, no whipped cream. Min-jun paid for it. Just like he had 5 years ago. They sat by the window. Do you think, Ji-won started, then stopped. Think what? Do you think if we'd met differently, if our families hadn't been connected, would we have still ended up here? Min-jun considered it. Honestly? I think we were always going to end up here. Different path maybe. But same destination. Because of fate? Because of who we are. You challenge me. Push me. Make me want to be better. And he smiled. I apparently make you absolutely insane. You really do, she agreed, laughing. It's infuriating. Good. Keep you on your toes. He reached across the table. Took her hand. Ji-won Lee, I have something to ask you. Her heart skipped. Okay. It's too soon. I know it's too soon. We've only been together, officially, properly, for 3 months. But I also waited 5 years to find you again. And I don't want to waste any more time. He pulled out a small box. Opened it. Inside was a ring. Simple. Elegant. Perfect. I'm not asking you to marry me today. I'm asking, he looked at her with everything he felt written plainly on his face. I'm asking if someday, when we've figured out all the complicated parts, when we've healed from our father's mistakes, when we're ready, would you consider spending your life with me? Ji-won couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only feel the overwhelming rightness of this moment. You're right, she whispered. It's too soon. His face fell. Oh. Okay. I understand, but ask me again in a year. She smiled through tears. Ask me when I've proven I can stand on my own. When you've figured out who you are without your company. When we've both become the people we're meant to be. Ask me then. And you'll say yes? I'll say, she pretended to consider. I'll say you're still insane. But yes. I'll say yes. Min-jun's grin was incandescent. 1 year. I'm holding you to that. I'm counting on it. He slipped the ring on her right hand instead of her left. A promise then. For what's coming. They kissed in that coffee shop, surrounded by college students and tired baristas and the smell of espresso, and it felt like coming home. Like everything they'd been through, the pain and betrayal and heartbreak and triumph had led them exactly here. To this moment. To each other.